Hi, welcome back to Less Stress for You and I. This episode, we'll be talking about mentorship. Mentorship, let's talk about that. The guidance provided by an experienced person, wise and trusted counselor, or a teacher. A person with knowledge whom forms a relationship with someone who needs the guidance.
Only gets the best of you if you let.
When it's that West Side nigga from K-Town, always go stay
pull up at the Green Bay Correctional Institution in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Historic prison. The second oldest prison in the state of Wisconsin. I'm about to go in here and give a presentation to incarcerated men and meet with the director of the Wisconsin Innocence Project from the Wisconsin Law School. Everyone knows about my case, being wrongly convicted. Having spent 15 years in this state. And so I've been blessed and fortunate to come back to the state and come into these prisons and speak to the men about some of the challenges of being free and what is necessary for them to do in order to get out the penitentiary and stay out the penitentiary. Because so very few men really knows what it takes to get out the penitentiary and stay out. And the problem with that is that we suffer from so many psychoses growing up in Black America, in American civilization, American culture for that matter. We suffer from so many different psychoses that it makes it difficult for a young Black man once he gets caught up in the system, psychologically, culturally, mentally, intellectually, educationally, socially, to navigate his way out of this system. And I was very confident. One of the things I like to drive home in particular is that in all actuality, as much as we would like to see our young men, and even our elderly men inside institutions come home, the reality is that many of them don't need to come home because many of them ain't ready to come home. We don't need them in our community. And I can say that about myself. If I wasn't ready to come home when I was in the institution, then I was one of those ones that I would be speaking to. A lot of men just don't need to come home because they ain't gonna do nothing but rob, rape, pillage, and destroy our community like they've been doing before when they went there in the beginning. And so I told them today, point blank period, I said, I'm gonna say something that a lot of y'all may not like, and it may pinch a nerve. I said, but I don't care because I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I said, point blank period, a lot of y'all don't need to come home, and I don't want to see y'all home. I told them I don't understand the mentality of racing to get out the penitentiary to come right back. You know what I mean? So what it takes to really be prepared to go home, and a lot of men just don't understand that. They think that I'm locked up, I can't wait to get home. But they don't even do the necessary things it takes in order to get home and stay home. And it takes a lot of rebuilding, of heart, mind, body, and soul. It takes a real serious investment in oneself to even be adequately prepared to step foot outside them prison bars and rejoin our community, especially in the African American community where we need our men back home with our children. In Wisconsin in 1991, and I served 15 years of a 45-year sentence for a crime I had no part in whatsoever. And I won my freedom, fortunately, with the help of a lot of people, a lot of community activists, thanks to Reuben Hurricane Carter's organization and passing my case along to the Wisconsin Innocence Project.
We're asking you to be a mentor to people that are re-entering the community from our correctional facilities. And mentoring was actually the language of mentoring. But what I'm looking for is for you to really be a friend and somewhat of an advocate for this person that you're matched with. Because they won't be used to using their voice, and sometimes they will be misunderstood. And I know from experience that it goes a long way if the people that are charged with keeping an eye on them when they first get out, knows that they have a support, positive support in their life. They will come out and there will be a job waiting for them. With the help of a friend and a little input here and there, with the resources that we're hoping to pull together, we should be able to find them a place to stay fairly quickly. So this is the Circle of Peace movement, and we're all about stopping the violence and promoting racial healing. To get anyone. So I'm going to pass the talking piece, and I'd like for you to introduce yourself. And there's 2 circles on Thursday. I would suggest that they get a chance to come to Circle, because I think, like it does for many of us in the Circle, it'll help ground them too.
I guess you can never have too many friends.
A person that's coming out looking for that stability that they may need, that ear that they may need, that support that they may need to help them to manage the transition and returning into being active and productive member of society.
Hey, I'm David. I'm not originally from Minneapolis, from Vancouver originally. Roots in Hawaii and Minnesota. And I'm a homeopath, so I'm really interested in how, I've been involved in prison reentry for a while now. I think now that I'm a homeopath, I think I'm interested in understanding how homeopathy can be beneficial to folks who've gone through something like the trauma of prison.
Thank you. My name is Damon. I've mentored before. I've taught Islamic studies in prisons for about 13 years. I've been to almost every prison in the state of Minnesota.
Interested in being a mentor. I really like what Russell said about it being more of a friendship. And I think that really speaks to it, that a lot of these people just need an extra hand or just a little extra help to get them going, and that we have those. So part of my circle is about sharing resources and connecting people, and so
I just came here with Bao's invitation today. I'm a fellow from the Philippines. I was here 2 weeks ago. I am under a fellowship program, community solutions program under U.S. State Department. So I'm a social worker and educator in the Philippines.
My name is Lisa Garcia. I want to be a mentor because I can empathize with people that are in the system. Many of them coming from abused homes and backgrounds, which I myself have experienced. And I believe in second chances and restorative justice. I'm in school right now taking classes, and my degree is going to be civic activism for social change. So.
My name is Mike, and I just want to make a difference.
My name is Ann Haynes, and the reason why I want to be involved is I think that people would have a bigger and better chance of success if they had someone positive and supportive on the outside.
My name is Alex Smith, and I have a strong spiritual guidance, and I believe that I'm here for a reason. And I think that at the age that I am now, that reason is to go into the prison system and to assist and help wherever I'm needed.
I'm Lauren, and I've had family that's been through the system who've been incarcerated, so I know firsthand how kind of the system is and the effects and rehabilitation and how much of a struggle it is. And I just want to befriend someone and be that support system and just show them that there's hope, that there's caring people out there for them, and there's so many opportunities to change. And so I just want to be that light in their life.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Morris, and I want to be a mentor because
in my early days coming up, people mentored me, and it's something I think I have a lot of experience in life. I've been through a lot of different changes, and I've prevailed.
Started going into our state correctional facilities, and I was hired by an organization to be their volunteer coordinator. I had applied for another job within that organization, but didn't get it. And I'd been working in employment for a long time, so I wasn't used to not getting a job that I wanted. And so I kept on and kept on with this organization, thank you cards, calls, and they said, we might have something for you in a couple weeks. And I was hired as their volunteer coordinator, which gave me a unique view of who was volunteering and what the people were like inside. I had to go in and sit down and do assessments and interviews to make sure that they were appropriate to be matched with a friend. And I began to, I learned a lot, and I thought when I first got there, and the first time I went inside, I thought this is going to be a dark job, and I'm out of here in 6 months. I'm here 6 months. And that was 14 years ago. To sit and listen to someone and maybe offer a suggestion. I'm not saying give the answer, but if you let them talk long enough and you listen to them long enough, they'll find the answer for themselves. Volunteers are generally made up by upper middle class white people. And as I went into those facilities, most of the people that were looking for support were non-white people. And they always asked me, do you have somebody that looks like me? American guy, he said he didn't want to be matched with a friend if he wasn't going to be Native American. I said, oh my God, I'll see what I can do. And it was the strangest thing. It wasn't even a week later, a Native American guy came in, said he wanted to volunteer, and he would only volunteer for another Native American. And that has to be every bit of 10 years ago. And they're still meeting. Do something. The Circle of Peace movement achieves its mission through community circles that bring people together for meaningful and inclusive dialogue, that fosters relationships and builds communities across racial and cultural barriers. Circle honors and accepts individuals' differences, celebrates the courage to speak truth, inspires hope and reconciliation. The result is individual, family, and community healing and action to restore authentic justice, and it ends racial and community violence. Who are you?
Oh, I'm Haywood Kim.
To say that Haywood took a job at this organization I was speaking of, and inside of 3 months he was covering a number of different facilities. He was meeting guys coming out of the facility and bringing them back into the community. And he had large numbers that he kept out, and with very little guidance from me, he just knew what to do. And that was called the Men of Rafiki.
Incarcerated, and I have seen how difficult it is for those families and how it has torn families apart. And I recently attended a meeting that was held in North Minneapolis for Justice, Voices of Justice meeting. And I saw how difficult it is for the people that are in the system and the ones that have been out.
Okay, what is mentoring? The purpose of mentoring is to provide a caring, open-minded, supportive relationship and to be a positive role model to a post-release adult so that they may achieve their goals in their personal and work lives. Meaningful mentorship: listen, actively listen to your mentee, non-judgment, do not make assumptions about your mentee. Trust, keep your word, keep conversations confidential. Reliability, maintain regular contact so mentees know you are someone they can rely on. These essential mentorship components are expected of both mentor and mentee. And coach, help mentees problem solve and assess how to make wise choices.
The Center for Children of Incarcerated Parents. Their mission statement is the prevention of intergenerational crime and incarceration. When the average stay at a company is 4.6 years, according to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, past mentoring. Changing times. Technology for better or worse. With new ideas, we lose old ways, which is the trade-off of technology. The gold watch for 20 years of service and a pension. Today's world, you float from job to job within the field. We are being trained to be multi-talented and multitasking. Mentorship, internship, and apprenticeship.
Welcome back to Less Stress for You and I. I'm Saran. This is Saran's Perspective. This episode, we're talking about mentorship. What is mentorship? It's basically just trying to look out for someone, be a big brother, be a big sister. It's lending your wisdom, your knowledge, your understanding, your experience to those less inclined to be experienced in such a fashion, let's say. Mentorship is one of the greatest things we could do for one another. Oftentimes we find ourselves, we may be raised without a parents, no older siblings to help guide us. To think that we can navigate the ocean of life alone is ridiculous. It's a ludicrous thought. No one does anything on their own. To think that way is to actually drive yourself towards extinction. We are a species that require one another to exist. If you know someone that is running in a path that is destructive to themselves, talk to them, lend a hand. Oftentimes we think if I express myself to someone, I leave myself vulnerable to them. Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, you gotta have boundaries, of course. However, there is no greater cause than you can take up than helping your fellow man, sister. Let's not be gender biased about it. Mentorship is a thing I strongly suggest that we all partake in. I do. My good friend, my best friend and executive producer, Jimmy Morris, also is a mentor. And we spend our time helping young people as much as we can, and not just restricted to young people, because mentorship comes in many forms. And oftentimes, we might know someone that may be our age or even older than us that requires, it may not be a mentorship, but just a good friend. And when you're a good friend, you are in fact a mentor. That old saying from the Bible comes to mind, am I my brother's keeper? My answer to you is yes.
The bullet points, they are very important, especially to somebody that's being just released from prison, because you might be dealing with somebody that's been incarcerated for a number of years, and things have changed so differently than when he first went in. So coaching is going to be very important.
I would just add on to the coaching. I think reacclimating some of the community members that are returning back, just making sure they know where the A's and B's and C's are, so that they can just be able to navigate that as well.
To be able to really actively listen, because it requires us to shut off our own dialogue.
Yeah, I'm interested in reciprocity. I'm not sure what the expectations are for the mentee or the returning citizen, who, in terms of what they expect from us, or what they're expected to do in terms of communicating with us.
I would say the one thing that I'd like to add to that, or would be conscious of, is advocacy.
It allows us to see each other for our humanness and our own story. And so I really see that as a big part of coaching, is sharing your own stories with these people as well, so that they can connect back and share the same path.
Essential components in building many meaningful relationships also with a person. Like sometimes we we think? Like if we are mentoring somebody, like maybe there's a power thing?
I think all of these components are very important to building a meaningful mentorship relationship.
There's a fine line of support and kind of doing too much for them. So I think that when Dana said advocacy, that's a huge component as well, because we have to get them to a place to be comfortable in advocating for themselves.
Boundaries is something that I certainly want to free my mind from being concerned about going into an area that I should not be in.
And the components, I mean, are pretty well laid out, so I don't have anything to add.
Essential components are part of the work that I do on a daily basis.
I'd like to mention something in regards to communication and social media and all that. I don't know exactly what kind of access these individuals have in the prison system in regards to social media, but social media is a very tricky thing.
Will be that you'll be matched as they come out. It will be hard for them to pay attention to you if you're in any way shaky. They won't have time for that. There's too much on their plate to try to get their life in line and not have to go back. So you have to have the ability to dedicate 3 to 5 hours per week to taking time, talking with this mentee, and a minimum of 4 face-to-face contacts per mentee to one of the circles, and give them an opportunity to talk about what's going on with them. Don't say you're going to do something if you can't. I'm just going to say that. Some stories, more than likely, that is kind of outside your wheelhouse, but I'm just asking you to listen to them, and there'll be more to that story. People say something to in a bar, and it'll get back to the prison before I can get up there. I don't know how it happens. They're better connected than I am. There will be mentor training support. We will have a meeting about every 2 months that'll be done in circle just like this, and you'll have an opportunity, and this would be the only place that I would say that you would be able to share how things are going on with your mentee about this type of mentoring. I did an experiment with Hennepin County. I found that they were really able to dedicate themselves to what they were doing, and it was an amazing experience. Every family that they worked with were helped, and a very positive outcome in that. However, the county didn't continue with it. Let's talk about the boundaries. Boundaries refer to the rules, guidelines, limits, and standards that are expected and which help a relationship grow and remain a healthy relationship. Boundaries have similarities and differences across cultures, so it is important to be sensitive to people's differences and to set boundaries without judging behavior. Common areas where boundaries are needed. Time. What kind of access does the mentee have to you, and what is the limit? Times of day you are available. This is going to be really important. You want to keep this page, I don't know, you might want to put it in plastic, because you want to make it clear. It'll be up to you to make it clear. This is when I can be reached. You want to have this discussion. This is a two-way thing. Will that work for you? Do I need to change something in order so that we can have this time? It's not to be a provider. A mentor may refer a mentee to resources that may information such as home address should not be given to the mentee. Contact, communication. Agree on frequency, duration, and intervals of meetings or communication and how this will occur. Confidentiality. Discuss what confidentiality actually means to each of you in various scenarios. Understanding, setting, and modeling healthy boundaries is an important component of being a volunteer mentor with the Circle of Peace movement. We recommend periodic evaluations of your boundaries to ensure that your mentoring experience is meaningful and safe. With questions or concerns about boundaries issues, They need to know that you care. That's the main thing. If they know that you care, they're going to do the best they can to make this a very good experience. These have been distilled over the years. Trust me when I tell you, mentors will not give or lend money to the mentees. It will destroy the friendship. Mentors may refer mentees to resources available to assist them with housing, job assistance, food, and transportation. I had a guy call me and say, let me have $20. I told him, I've got 18 grandkids. You give me $20. Yeah. He said, never mind, Russ, never mind. I said, no, I want some. I'm going to get a call and you're going to say, Russ. And I've always, the volunteers would call and it would be that tone of voice, Russ. I said, how much? How much?
Do you have, if your friend comes out with a viable reason in regard to needing money, can we call you and say, Russell, this person has a problem, and what can we do for him? Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, you can call.
You said that with a grin. I don't appreciate it too much, brother. Okay.
No, don't start telling them they're wrong about anything, or because they've got the power of life and death over these folks. They can send them back without an issue. Their caseloads are large, and it wouldn't be no skin off their nose. So you just want to teach them how to have a good relationship with that agent, and you have a good relationship with them. I gave you a list of do's and don'ts. When they hear you're going to ask me whether or not it's okay, they're going to tell you never mind. And it feels like it could be uncomfortable. Call us. We will take care of it in a respectful way, and you know, and things don't always work out. We're hoping that your match will be good, and I have confidence in all of you. That Sarah said to me 14 years ago when I got, that's my wife, when I got ready to leave home for that job, she said, don't bring nobody home. I'd like to go to the Minneapolis Institute of Art because it was free and walk through there. I'm going to read that the Circle of Peace movement requires the highest standard of conduct from staff and volunteers. Every member is a representative of the Circle of Peace movement and is responsible for upholding that reputation. As a member, you are required to comply with all the rules of corrections personnel and the Circle of Peace movement and to carry out your mentorship in a mature, responsible manner. Mentors are encouraged to ask questions of the Circle of Peace movement staff to clarify in areas of confusion. A breach of confidence may break the trust of a relationship. If some of these things start to slip, you know, you gotta realize that, you know, it's not going to be your fault, but as long as you follow the guidelines, everything will be all right. Should also make a report to program staff when the mentee reports child or elder abuse, neglect, or endangerment on him or herself or others. Discusses drug uses and intended drug use. Indicates the possible violation of the terms of his or her parole. Another person has an intention of hurting him or herself or others, or of putting the mentor in danger. Demonstrates a marked change in functioning, appears depressed or manic, or has noticeable changes in hygiene, sleeping, or eating. We want you to keep in touch. Make sure to update us when your contact information or email or street address or phone number changes, when your volunteer status changes, when you are no longer interested in being a mentor, or just to let us know when something great or not so great is happening with your mentee.